Let's go. We're gonna check out what's going on with VShojo. We also have another one he just did today. We'll check out too. But let's first watch this VShojo executive exposed first. I think this has to do with Mao Myotendu or whatever his fucking name is. That fucking weirdo. Yeah, apparently he's done some shady shit in the past, and then he tried to rectify it by dropping a Google Doc that really doesn't
over here.
help his image.
Mutendo, right? Who is a former executive C-suite level with VShojo.
I haven't.
Glorious about this.
I'm gonna preface. I haven't read his document, but I'm just gonna say that I'm pretty sure he's shady as fuck. Right, especially if he was working with Gun Run and everything.
This is hit with a community note almost immediately. Now, in this community note reads, Mutendo actively harassed and defamed talents during his time at VShojo and after. He fails to address this important issue in the document or the fact that he deleted tweets claiming ignorance of their internal issues. So
yeah,
this is a fun.
So there you go. He's already trying to hide information and shit.
Here is the document.
So he doesn't sound like a credible narrator, as you can see.
And I will stop. I will comment. So he starts with, hey all, before we get started, I just want to take the chance to thank all of my friends, former talent, former staff, and other streamers in the industry that I've been in communication with who know myself and my role within the company. You've all been wonderful through this tough time. I also want to thank the many, many people within the community who have been supportive throughout this time and have stood with me while this gets sorted. I've spent the following month gathering countless documents and what I had access to in order to have clear, concise records of my involvement with the company and provided a small fraction below. Transparency and misrepresentation. There was once a time where I was extremely proud about what I helped build initially. There was a lot of hard work and planning involved, and I took a lot of pride in my role for launching the company. But now I simply feel misled, disappointed, and betrayed. The fact is that this happened. This had happened at all is troubling to say the least, and I feel deeply sorry for those affected by it.
Oh,
if anyone affected needs testimony, evidence, or other material assistance with actions against the
If he was really sorry, they would have cleaned up their act
I may have documentation
when the initial thing happened.
We need to call him on this.
They never cleaned up their act.
We need to call him on this because this is not all the information.
Yeah,
and he needs to give over if he really wants to clear his name.
Honestly, these people are probably withholding a lot of information. Not only that, but it seems like they're withholding funds too. Right? They owe these people money.
Conversations with Gun Run.
They owe their talents money that they haven't given back.
Now you can censor out confidential information, so per people's personal information, stuff like that. It needs to be all out. That all needs to be dropped. I have also considered, saying right here, taking my own shareholder action against a company, which I won't rule out. Well, there you go. I have also have to consider action against those that have engaged in defamation, although I'm hopefully they can resolve it privately. And then this is good. This is good. I think that you should reach out. And if you feel like somebody is defaming you, this is actually smart. So I'm going to give him some credit on this. If you feel like somebody is defaming you, you should reach out to them and you should try to resolve it amicably because defamation lawsuits are difficult and they're hard. That being said, I was never made aware that company talents were intermingled with
I don't
the
know.
company's
He's still shady.
You know why he underlined this, guys? You know why he underlined this? This is a legal conclusion that would lead to the piercing of the corporate veil and his personal liability. So, whether it's true or not, he said that because that was this is a legal statement. I'm not even sure if he knows it's a legal statement. Any budget that was used for marketing was a direct result of being. Hold on.
Right. Yeah, you do have to be careful, right? Especially when you're an employee of a company that just went down, and you're making, right? You're making statements, right? You do want to be careful, right? Because that you might be culpable, right? You might be liable in your shit. Especially if you don't, if you say the wrong thing, people are gonna people are gonna mistake it, and maybe they think you did something, and blah blah blah. That's why you should always get a fucking lawyer. That's why you shouldn't say shit.
Okay, he still hasn't. He didn't do this right. He didn't explain what his position was, because let's go down. He screwed this up. So he says he had 2 titles here of CTO and CMO. Okay, so Chief
Well, I
Technology
mean, he
Officer and
already
Chief
screwed up
Marketing
by not
Officer.
talking to a
So
fucking
what he
lawyer,
says
right?
here about any budget used for
Especially when
marketing was a
making these
direct
kinds of
result of being
statements right
asked
here.
for an amount and either being approved or denied. I had extremely limited financial access, only small marketing approvals, never broader accounts or operations. I have evidence of this from third parties that I work for with marketing media, and that's fine. He's going to be deposed on this. I've never had access to bank accounts nor was made aware in meetings about the way the finances are being made. Well, I guess he had a charge card or something. So this is interesting.
Oh, he had a
So
company
how
card or
would I
something,
guess he
right?
would just chart? He would just get an invoice and pass it along to get paid. But usually,
So did
typically,
did they have like a
typically,
bank for the company that they were just
the
using as a
marketing
proxy for
director
everyone?
or this chief marketing officer would have like a charge card or some way to get stuff to pay for stuff.
Yeah.
So he probably had some way to pay, but he may not have had access to like how much money was in the bank account. Sure. What I've been made aware of is that the company was running out of money and needed another round of investment to continue operations. So they were operating on loans. As far as my understanding, the only
So they were
individuals who had
taking
access
loans
to
out for
company
the
bank
company.
accounts were the CEO, the
Yikes.
COO, and the finance department,
Sounds like a
as
pyramid
far as he
scheme.
knows. And that might be true. But what this means is the entire finance department, the COO, and the CEO are on the line. So, yes, it's not just gun run. It's not just gun run, but at a minimum, it's the COO and probably the entire finance department, if not at least the head. Okay, let's continue down. So, he was at CTO and CMO. So, I oftentimes will say C-suite level. So, C-suite level. What that means is you are a chief. Typically, in a corporation, at that level,
The Chifu.
everybody talks to each other about stuff. Now, are there exceptions? Yes. But the default is that these people are typically talking to each other. And typically there's gossip that will get around or word that will get around, etc. So the thing is, if he was at the C-suite level, it's hard to believe he really didn't
Oh yeah,
really
they're
know
probably
anything or
talking
have a
around. They're
feeling that something
definitely.
was going to
No,
happen.
they
Now,
have
maybe
to.
he didn't
There's
know
no
all the
way.
details, maybe, but at that level, it's hard not to know. It's hard not to know. So that's when I say C-suite. I mean the CEO, the CTO, and CMO. He was not the CEO, to be fair. And I have never said he was the CEO.
I don't really think it matters if he was right because you're still working on a corporate level, right? I mean, you're still working on a corporate hierarchy. You should be conversing with with your bosses and employees, your subordinates, shouldn't you? Yes. Ugh.
CEO. Right. The change in position was due to an internal company pivot in which the directors of the company assigned the role of CTO to another staff member and subsequently assigned myself to CMO. I have
Especially in a
assigned these
big
titles, but
company that's
recently
moving a
discovered
lot,
it's not
right?
entirely clear
Well,
if these titles were
I mean,
legally
it's
or
not
formally
even
recognized. They don't really
the
have to
company
be.
isn't
They
even
weren't
doing that
publicly
much.
traded,
They're just
so you really
handling
don't need to
talents.
acknowledge who your CTO is. You do need to acknowledge your board of directors, but that's a separate body. And by the way, your officers don't need to be the only people sitting on the board of directors. You can actually get outside people to sit on your board of directors. Okay. In terms of a seniority, I was not on the board of directors despite assisting launch a company. I can believe this. I can believe this because this is going to be easy to find if it's a lie. So I assume he's not on the board. That's probably true. I also note at this time the entire company was remote and no in-person office. So what he's trying to say is there was no water cooler talk. From the start, I felt as I was unfairly sidelined in terms of my role and influence. Any criticisms I always held felt like they fell on deaf ears. And as time went, the staff expanded and I felt more and more sidelined. Once again, he should have quit. This is not anything that,
Correct.
if you feel sidelined, you
Yeah,
should
if
quit
you
or you should
felt like
speak
you
up or
were
you should do
not
something
a
about it. That's your
part of
power
the
in a company.
company,
If you
why
don't
didn't
like
you
it,
quit
quit,
then?
right? My role in the
Eh,
company more or less began to feel like an employee that just did marketing, other tasks when needed, as opposed to somebody who assisted in getting everything off the ground. That's not good. That's not good, obviously. I feel as if there was not a lot of honesty and transparency about certain happenings within the company. And now I believe that some things I was told were not true. Things such as information about talent's behaviors and reasons for their departures was information that's being presented to me by the founders. So Gunrun and I guess Daniel. This directly influenced my beliefs and feelings about the talent. And I now believe, based on the findings, the information presented to me was untrue. Okay, well, there's a lot of proof that you had back in July that this was untrue. So once again, I do think he's being very favorable to himself here. However,
Correct.
despite the fact
I
he's
mean,
being very
he's
favorable to
obviously
himself,
hiding
he may not be
information that
completely
would
lying,
make him
right?
seem liable or culpable, right?
There
I
are
mean,
many
he's
projects and
definitely.
pivots that I learned
He's
only
definitely
after they were in
100%
motion or were
fucking
approved by the board.
in on
Things
this.
such as a pivot to a social media
There's
style
no fucking
website
way.
service and a
Because
full
he was
company
literally
merger,
talking with these
both of
people.
which
No fucking
both
way.
of which I opposed, are among the few examples where I've notified subsequently to the work beginning. There were times when I was asked to sign documents without adequate time to get them reviewed by an attorney and told they could potentially lead to my removal from the company. I was told that it was needed for the success of the company with minimal and insufficient details. An example being the aforementioned merger above. In the final years of the company, I didn't directly speak to the CEO in a one-on-one capacity, only the COO weekly. This was likely due to the fact that I would be extremely critical about decisions made at the company and lack thereof scaling in ways that I believe made sense. The CEO had a habit of putting other staff in front of him when faced with diversity. Well, most people do, right? Dismissal and aftermath. Here we go. On May 1st.
I wonder what kind of diversity. Oh, where's my money? Hey, could you talk to this person? Maybe it was that. Oh man,
I
these
was called
fucking
to a
people.
Sunday meeting with members of the board, and where I was informed that my alleged position of CMO was being removed from the company, along with 4 other positions.
Oh God, I gotta tell these
measure.
people
Well,
we're not
smart,
making
but
any
it's too
money.
late,
Hey,
right?
I need
By
you to.
then,
Hey,
they already owed money. So here's
hey,
the
you.
problem. They should have cut
I need
staff
you to talk to
a
them.
long time ago. And I'll actually take these off for a second because I know don't have too much video. So we'll free the ears. Free the ears. But they should have cut that cost a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently
December,
they had like what 30
January,
employees. They should have cut
back
that fucking
before.
down
They should
real
have
quick, right?
freed those people up
Correct.
and let them go, and then got those resources back. So from May 15,
Yeah,
2025,
I hate
all
to
of
say
my
it, but
access
that's
to
the
company
easiest
email
way
was
to do
revoked.
it.
That's normal. That's
'Cause,
standard.
I mean, you're not going to give up your
Slack
talents,
and
right?
company-related
'Cause
software to move on
talent
to a
freedom.
personal endeavor. Okay. So now in July, he was reaching out to them as he's working on his non-VTuber project. So here's some contact in July where he was legitimately not at the company. And here is some really damning responses from Mutendo. Mutendo says, "Hey, brother, I have a little bit of a request from you. I have a very large forward-facing thing I'm working on this month that is slated for late July, early August. Can you keep me up to date on anything large scale that may be happening at VShojo around the time, whether good or bad, company dissolution, new members joining, members leaving, company sale? Need to have all that ready in case you need to move things around at the time." Okay. Here's my biggest what WTF for Mutendo personally. Listen, bro. Why or how
Like I said,
did you
he's
know
already
to
a piece
ask
of
about
shit.
this? Was it because people told you? Because that means you had an inkling of what was happening. If in that month, Mutendo is asking, he's asking people at VShojo, and he said he left every company, company group chat, everything else. That means he had information to know there was something going down, right? You don't ask a very specific question about this unless you had some sort of idea that came from somewhere. He didn't just magically say this. You don't just magically say company dissolution, like randomly, like, "Oh, hey, buddy, is your company dissolving?" So I was told,
yeah, that's suspicious,
to check in after Anime Expo. So why didn't he show me that? So here's
dude,
the
when
thing.
you say,
Why not show
dude,
the whole
all it takes
conversation?
is you saying certain fucking
that,
words, and it's
I
just
want to
like,
see the rest of this. This is my question
the fuck
for
did you just
MTD.
say?
I would still check in. Well, where does it say? Show us that. Show us the
Yeah,
Carfax.
when you're
when
you get caught up in that shit, you're fucked,
to a
dude.
staff
They're gonna
member
fucking
that was allegedly hired after my release.
that's
I've
their
censored their name
ammunition.
as they were a
They're
new
gonna
hire.
fucking
In typical fashion, someone
put
was put between
bullets in
myself
you.
and CEO for communication would clearly tell me what potentially was going on. This is the final time I had contact with the CEO. Okay, guys, pay attention. Some legal stuff is happening here. Hey, MTD, connecting you with somebody. We're going to call him the Doo here. We're going to call him Doo because, that's probably his name.
Doo from
With Doo here. He's
Fire
been taking
Emblem?
over more for more VSJ leadership things and can keep you better up to speed.
Weak.
So obviously this Doo guy
there's a
is
Fire
gonna be
Emblem
culpable
character
here.
named Doo.
Because this is
And
called
one of his
agent
voice
theory.
lines has
So,
him saying like
Gun
weak.
Run designated Doo
every time he fucks up an
to
opponent.
do this work. So now we have clearly bulletproof 2 people that are on the hook here, and probably 3 because Sanders is on the hook. So Daniel Sanders, Justin Ignacio, Gun Run, and now Doo, whatever his real name is. And obviously his real name's going to come out. His information is going to come out.
Yeah,
he's on the line here. Because
if he's online and he's like, and he's going to be in a court trial
the
or
CEO is always
court
liable.
docs.
But
yeah,
if you're told
his
to do
name's gonna come
something
out.
and you do it, you're on the hook for that. So he's going to be deposed, and his identity is very important. And I know,
yeah,
Nintendo
especially
wanted
if
to keep
he
that
had
secret,
some
but I'm
knowings
telling
of
him
the
right now,
company.
this
Right,
will
he was
not
a
be kept secret.
shareholder.
That name is going to get
Not
out
only
there.
was he
We're gonna find out
he
who
a
this person
shareholder,
is.
but he
And
was also
regardless of
he
them
also
being a
had some
new
inner
hire, they are liable
he's
for what
basically
they were executing, right? If the emperor told
he had
them
some
to do it,
he
they're
had
on
some
the line, right? Darth
interests in
Vader
the
is
company,
liable for
right,
following the orders
to
of
know
the
what
emperor,
was
right?
happening or what was going on
So
inside.
Mutendo says.
So
obviously,
he had
once
to
again,
know
this
what the
Doo
fuck
guy's
was
on the hook.
happening.
Hey there.
This
So
dude,
just
yeah,
doing
yeah,
a check-in. If
Mutendo,
there's going to be
Mutendo.
any
Yeah, this guy's
upcoming
trying to
negative
fucking
news,
run.
or like,
He's trying
or
to
the like
run, man.
over the next 30
like,
or
oh,
so
I
days,
didn't do it. No, man.
so I can prepare in advance as I look to
And the
launch
dissolving
a
company
new
is it
public-facing
dissolving?
project.
Hey, can
Why
I get
is
some
he
information?
specifically asking? Once again, he's now asked twice. The first time he tried to be vague and say, oh, it could be good or bad.
Yeah.
Now he's specifically asking, is there negative news? He knew. This man knew. Now he may have had rumors come to him. He had people tell him after, but at this point he knew. Right? He knew.
Oh yeah,
and trying to pretend any other way is a cope. Now he may not have known while he was working there, but at this point he knew. So he needs to kind of come out and be like, all right, yeah, the talent told me. So here's what he said.
Yeah, because you can't say for sure he knew at the time, right at the time they were working, but he's saying it now, right? He's saying this was July 15th, right? This was 2 months ago, or 3 months ago, or something. Yeah, 2 months ago, 3 months. Oops, no way. 2 months ago. So it's like, yeah, he fucking knew. especially when you started when you start messaging at this point. Yeah, he knew.
Answer is yes. One way or another, there's going to be some negative stuff publicly. I can't say what. Here is a bombshell. You can now connect the dots between Gun Run and Doo. So everything he is saying is as if it comes out of the mouth of Gun Run. He cannot pass the buck here. He tried to pass the buck saying he's been taking over VSJ leadership, but you can't hand over the CEO role without designating another CEO. So Gun Run is trying to be slick here, but Gun Run is not escaping the fact that they knew this was coming. And here we go. Mouse just posted a thing without any advance notice. So heads up. So trying to say that they wanted to control Mouse. This is a huge snitch, guys.
Interesting.
This is massive. Well aware for the large amounts of DMs and texts I'm getting. Sad day. No, it's not a sad day. It's a shameful day. Because she did that because you guys lied
got the upper hand
and cheated and stole for years.
Basically. Yeah. Or, well, not
Can
really
I
the
get some
upper hand, but
context
they were
here,
hoping
as
that
this
they
is the
could
first thing I'm
exert
hearing.
some form of
This is
control
why
over Iron
this is in
Mouse,
my
probably.
thumbnail. This statement here
Making sure she
is
doesn't
damning.
say anything too early.
VShojo owes a lot
Or
of
at least
money
getting
to
their
talents.
story straight,
I don't know
or
when you were involved with the company,
corroborating everything,
but it's been
and
an
making sure
ongoing
she
known issue for a year.
Right.
And the
Be
charity
quiet
payment is
or
related.
something.
You probably have more context than me, I suspect, but I'm also not sure where your relationship was with the company and when. VShojo ran out of money some time ago and has been operating with what was supposed to be talent money, hence causing the current situation. So they are admitting live in 4D the agent of Gunrun, which is as if Gunrun is speaking. This is like if you think about Catholicism, like the Pope speaking on behalf of God or whatever, right? Not to get too religious on you, right? Whatever, like, somebody who's speaking, who is a designated agent, the
Right.
speaker
Pastor,
for another
Pope,
person, right?
in a sense, yeah.
It is treated legally like this is Gunrun because Gunrun is
Clergyman.
delegated principal agent. This is the agent. This is Gunrun saying this effectively, legally. It's the confession. This is why I called this the confession.
He has confessed his
This is the
sins.
confession that they knew. I was never made aware of this being an issue from both the CEO and COO. I was aware there were financial issues, but not outstanding payment, especially for charity. Excuse me. Like I said, I don't know what your relationship is or was or what your role was. They definitely knew what they were doing. They probably they could ask people, they could ask they know what's going on there. That's a lie. But these issues have been ongoing for most of the past year as far as I know. Since sometime 2024. You'll just have to ask Justin. I've been here 3.5 weeks, so I'm just learning and navigating through this as best I can. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely definitely interesting, but he's responsible, even if he's left with the bag of turd, right? So this guy, Dudu, I feel bad for him because he essentially is a guy who's going to be roped into a whole bunch of stuff. And I bet you he was not paid enough to deal with this. I bet you he was not paid enough. And what I would do if I was Dudu, I would turn on Gunrun right now. That's the person that people need to pinch and leverage right now. Lawyers for Iron Mouse, lawyers out there for the talent.
Doo-doo.
Get this guy. He's the weak link because he knows the dirty laundry and he probably was screwed over. And he was not paid enough money to deal with this. This guy was not paid enough hush money. So this guy could turn around and whistleblow on a lot of this stuff. Gunrun chose him as a fall guy, yes. So he needs to come forward. He needs to come out. But this is a confession, guys. And it's as if it came from the CEO. This exchange shows when I first became aware of unpaid payments. So once again, obviously, Mutendo is going to say he didn't know. And you know what? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't know the ins and outs of the exact finances, but he may have known the overall situation. Evidence retained. I have retained supporting documentation, including but not limited to meeting transcripts and notes, corporate filings that show only the CEO and board, various contracts, a statement of information listing only the CEO and COO, with none to mention. I would like to see the contracts, and I would like to see the meeting transcripts. So if he wants to, if Mutendo, if you want to upload the transcripts and the contracts, your boy will take a look. Your boy will take the look. Okay? I'm happy to look at that. And if you really are anti-Gunrun, you're not going to give a damn about them threatening you with NDA or anything else. You're going to take it to the paint, drop the contracts. Let me take a look. Let's all take a look. Let's get some sunshine on this case.
Drop it in the paint.
Let's go through this. And we may be able to work out some things together. We may be able to do this.
And there you have it. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's still legal well, apparently in the background there's still stuff. Not much we can do right now, right? And then we'll follow up with this one because he actually got some information on on a VShojo contract. Someone leaked him. Part of a contract. So let's see what we got going.
The VShojo contract has leaked. Well, a VShojo contract has leaked, and it's very relevant to the current downfall
Yeah,
of
this
the
is
company.
just one. Also, all contracts are not the same, so it's hard to say like what each of these people had, right?
And perhaps the contracts that are being pushed in front of talents right now as they try to negotiate, settle out, and end their relationship with the failed company VShojo. So we're going to be going over that contract today on the Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, attorney.
Hello, Andrew.
And this is something that I love to do, going through
That's
contracts.
your
It
legal
brought me on the
mindset.
VTuber scene, going through the Niji Sanji contract. So we've got one today.
Legal
I've broken it up a
mindset.
little bit
Legal
differently for this
mindset.
fast
Legal
facts version.
dick
Of course, if you
sucker.
like the fast facts, like the video and leave a comment below. For the fast facts, I'm going to be doing
Fucking
a
Ethan
very,
Ralph.
very quick summary of the contract language. We're going to go through all the relevant points, which I've cropped out. If you want a very detailed analysis where we really go into the meat of it, check out the live. That'll be a much, much longer version where I will go into much deeper detail. But we've got the quick version for you guys today, of course, on the legal mindset. And of course, we've got a PowerPoint, yes, on the exposing of the VShojo contract. So here we go. The background on this contract. This is a new contract that was sent to me this week. It is for an employee that was terminated from VShojo. Now, to be very clear, I'm saying employee. Typically, most VTuber companies, including VShojo, do not
So this
consider
was
the
an
talent
actual
employees. They consider
employee.
them independent contractors or some sort of other non-employee worker. They do not consider them employees. So there are some relevant parts of this. There are some parts of this contract that are not relevant or wouldn't be
So,
relevant
damn it.
to
So
VShojo
this is
talents
a terminated
necessarily.
employee.
However, I
Or,
believe
well,
many
at
of
least their
the
contract.
clauses are, including the ones that I've included in this PowerPoint in this presentation. So a
So
lot of
at
the
once,
information you're going to
basically
see
what
today
happens is
is
once they are
absolutely
terminated from the
100% relevant
company,
to either what was already
NDA is
signed by the
off.
VShojo
Right?
talent
No more
or
NDA
what
in a
they are
sense.
trying to
So
get
they
them
can,
to
well,
sign right
they
now.
they
I
can't
guarantee you
right? There's
that
still
something like
non-disparagement
this
stuff
is
going,
being
but they
pushed in
can't
front
do
of
that.
some of the
But
talents. I guarantee you that
you
some
know,
of the
they can
talents have
still,
signed a
right,
document
give
very much like this,
they
similar
can
to this,
give
et
more
cetera,
information
because as an attorney, I can tell you that attorneys
because they're
are
not tied to the
lazy. They like to
company
use
anymore.
templates, they do the same forms. So I guarantee you that a lot of the same language is probably going in front of the talent right now. Now, while this is not a talent contract, I did previously review a talent contract from VShojo. Now, a lot of
Oh,
people asked me to disclose that, to show that. Obviously, there were
oh,
confidentiality concerns,
so
which
he
there
has
still
seen
are
the
today,
contract.
in terms of being able to identify who that was. And the individual asked me not to disclose it. Therefore, taking attorney-client privilege here, I'm going to say, hey, I'm not going to disclose that information at all whatsoever. But I will
Damn
say
it.
that I do see some things that are the same, and there's some points that I'm going to point out which are similar to the VShojo
Oh,
contract.
but
So
he's
pay
saying that
attention to these
they're the
clauses
employee
because these
contract
may
and
be in some
the
contracts
talent
with
contract are
talents that you enjoy
sort
and
of
that you love
similar.
and that you
That's not good.
follow. And also, there will be private
Because if
information
that's the
that is going to be
case, then
redacted.
what's the point of the
So you're going to
fucking
see that mainly in
talent
one slide,
contract, right?
and that's to protect the privacy. Of course, I respect the privacy of the talents above all, because I believe, as a part of the VTuber community, as someone who loves the VTuber community, VTuber fans, they always want to put the talent first. That's something that VShojo was
Talent
supposed to do, but they
freedom.
failed in
Talent
that. But you know what?
freedom. Let's
Legal
go.
mindset
Talent
will not
freedom.
fail in trying to protect the talent first. So
You
here we
get to
go.
keep
This is
your
a
assets,
separation
though.
and release of claims agreement. So this is the form.
Unlike other
No, this is
companies.
not the agreement for employment. So it's not the employment agreement. This is
But
actually
we'll
the
just
separation
fucking
agreement. So this is
screw you
what you would
over and
get
take
them to
all your
sign
money.
at the end of their employment. So why this is relevant right
Jesus.
now is because you would want all of the talents on the way out to sign an agreement like this. Some of them may have already signed this and may have already been out. Some of them may have not. Some of them may have refused to sign. They may have come to an impasse. But certainly, most of the
Oh,
employees, which is what we're
Delaware.
dealing with today, would have signed this.
Oh.
And one reason why you haven't heard a
Interest.
lot is
Okay.
probably
So
because
they were
they
they were
signed this. And once you see
operating
the
out of
clauses, you're
Delaware.
going to understand
Damn, they're
why they haven't
operating
spoken
out
up.
of the
So this
deep
is obviously between
south, eh?
VShojo, which is a Delaware
Jeez.
corporation. Many
A
corporations formed in
fucking
Delaware,
hick
very
country,
common.
eh?
Now, lately, the
Bunch of
Delaware law has
fucking
been not so
hicks.
good for corporations, but
No
historically it
wonder
has
you
been
guys are so
predictable, at least.
unprofessional.
So they've been, a lot of corporations are formed in Delaware. And then, of course, the talent, or the employee rather, which is blocked out.
Sorry,
So
I'm
you
just
see
being a
here,
dick. I don't
what
know if
this
these
does is
people
it says,
are
hey,
dicks.
after this agreement is signed, you're no longer an employee. You can't say you're an employee. This is effectively a termination. So the termination is as of the date of this agreement. So they can argue that before this agreement, they were still employed by VShojo and they were not formally terminated. I cannot say the date, but let's just say it's in the recent past. That's good enough. It's within the scope of time, probably in which VShojo was not paying its bills and not paying talent. I can say that safely because they
So it's
weren't paying
probably
talent
within
for a very long
the
time.
last couple
Further,
years,
you've
right?
got terms like return of
Give
property.
or
So
give or
this is
take.
something pretty common. Many of you probably see this. If you ever get terminated from a job or you have to leave, you probably have to return stuff like your
Well,
badges,
actually,
your
no, it's
codes, your
pretty
laptops,
recent because
computers,
they
mobile
just got
phones, all of
terminated,
those
right?
sort of stuff. But the one thing that's interesting to me is
So I'm guessing
electronically
it
stored
happened
documents and
probably a
files or
couple months
physical files.
back, or
So
right, pretty
an interesting thing is to me,
maybe a little
did they
bit more
require
recent,
them
like
to
a month
send back
back,
logs, to send back chats? What was assets? What sort of assets or other things were required to
or
send
maybe
back? Things
sooner,
that weren't
like two
completed,
weeks
things that were
ago.
halfway through,
Right?
things they could have used, because
Could have been
remember,
as soon as
the
that, right?
shojo is
Who knows?
unique
Sorry,
in
I
that the
shouldn't be. I
talents
shouldn't be
own the
poking and
IP.
prodding.
So were there things that were almost ready to go to the talents, ready to go to Iron Mouse or Kason or somebody else that they took back? Probably. There's also a bunch of representations in here, which are interesting, that the employee isn't suing them, hasn't filed any claims, hasn't filed any sexual harassment or discrimination or abuse claims. These are very interesting. And also any claims for wages, because we know, and this is a very interesting fact, that separate from all this, there were allegations of misconduct, workplace misconduct.
Correct.
We're talking uncomfortable
So what?
situations, which could have been
2022,
based on just
2023,
what the
somewhere
information
around
out
there.
there. We can't say for sure, but could have potentially been
Maybe
sexual
even
harassment
maybe
or
even more
workplace
recent,
power
right?
situations, maybe quid pro quo, some sort of weird
24.
situation in the workplace. So this is interesting. So all of those employees that may have been intimidated or harassed may feel, hey, we signed a separation
I
agreement,
mean,
therefore we
especially
can't
if they're
bring
gonna
this.
do
Now,
like
the fun
hate
fact here, and this
campaigns
is
on like
something that
social
should be
media
reminded to many of the talents,
platforms,
is if they truly
right?
broke the
And like
law, if
pose
they truly
as
went out there and
right,
committed crimes, committed
pose as
harassment, labor
fans or
violations,
something.
no agreement is going to protect them from that. And just because they offered you a little bit of money, and we're going to see here the amount of money,
Basically, try to
that's
start
not enough
fanfics.
to buy them out. That's not enough to get them out. So from those
Fan.
type of claims. So let's continue here. So here we go. The separation benefits. So this is interesting. For every contract, you have to have what's called consideration. You have to have something of value exchanged. So right here is a lump payment of $6,600, right? Which would be paid no later than 6 days from the separation date or 6 days from the weekend or federal holiday after. So, it's a modest payment. I mean, that's a reasonable payment, not a massive amount of money, not 100,000 or 50,000 or 20,000.
Wait, is
Probably
this?
about a month, 2 months, or 3 months. I don't know how much
Yeah,
they're paid, but a couple months of labor.
this is like a
Typically,
couple
most
months of labor,
terminations or
maybe a
separations
month
will
of
give you a
labor.
month or two, and maybe three of wages. So that would fall in line there.
Oh
Also, it
yeah,
talks
that's
about
right.
continuing to pay
It could be
healthcare.
3.
And very
I mean,
importantly,
I guess it,
at the bottom here, which is
it's
one of the
hard to
reasons
say.
why a lot of people sign these
If it's
agreements, is because they
right,
want
if
a
it's
letter of
six
recommendation. So
times
what this
12,
says
right?
here is
That's
they
what.
will not give a recommendation, but they will
That's
confirm
72.
employment with the employer. Now, what's interesting here is a lot of people are, they want a good recommendation. They want something coming out there. Listen, it's not worth it from VShojo. And second of all, that's what they're legally required to do. An employer is legally required to just confirm you work there and the dates you work there. They don't have to say anything else, right? And there can be problems if they disparage you, if they say something negative about you, particularly if that's not true. There can be massive issues with that. So while a lot of people want that, they want to be on good terms, it's a very, they're not giving you much more than is legally required, which, once again, in a lot of these contracts, you think they're giving you something, but they're really giving you a nothing burger. Beyond that here, they're saying, hey, we're giving you benefits that are in excess. We're giving you more than you're entitled to, which is very
Interesting.
interesting because there could be many things you're entitled to:
Yeah. What?
overtime, materials,
Yeah.
other
What?
things
What exactly
they
is
were
that?
not paid
Yeah.
for, not reimbursed for. So what they're trying to say is, hey, we're wiping out your claims for anything else you may owe, we may owe you. So that's wiped out there. They're also giving a general release from claims. Now, once again, this is the big blockbuster. We are released from all claims, demands, actions, judgments, liabilities, expenses, blah, blah, blah. Every single contract out there in the world is going to have this waiver clause. I've written it 1,000 times, at least, not a million, but at least 1,000 times in contracts. Very, very, very standard. I don't think this would once again prevent them from any criminality or any
Oh
regulatory
yeah, I mean,
action. Beyond
aren't
that, there's a
like
lot of other
waivers are
claims they try to get out of
right?
too. The
Waiver claims are pretty
Title
standard
7,
in a lot of
American with Disabilities
right
Act,
stuff that
FMLA, Family Medical
but
Leave Act, the
people
Labor
right.
Standards Act,
If you
the
are
Employee
put in
Retirement
any
Income, the
sort
Civil
of
Rights.
danger, right, you're basically right. If any company, right, if you go to any amusement park, sometimes you're signing a waiver to these places, or say, right, a gun range. You're signing a waiver of right liability, right. You waiver your right, blah blah blah, because you're in an area where you're doing something right,
Act, the
possibly
Worker
dangerous,
Adjustment Act, the
and
National
could put
Labor
your life at
Relations
risk.
Uniform Services, the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act,
But
the
I mean, these
Immigration
are
Reform
right.
Act,
These
the
waivers
Texas
are
Labor
different,
Code,
like,
the Whistleblower
but
Acts in Texas and elsewhere, and in
they're all
Washington as well. We'll
boilerplate,
talk about
almost the
Washington
same
law
thing.
later. A lot of these things that they are saying they're getting out of, they cannot actually get out of. If they truly violated those, even this agreement, they could come back on. So a lot of this is to make you believe that you're out of it, but whether or not that's actually effective, that is up to a court, and a court could decide, hey, no, you crossed the
Yeah.
line, and in fact, we're going to hold
Yeah,
you
I
liable
mean,
under
yeah,
those acts.
exactly. At the end of the
They're
day,
also
if
saying,
you're not
hey,
going to
we're
court
releasing
to
all
settle
claims for
this, I mean, then
compensation, tort
nothing's settled,
damages,
right?
sick pay, any other
Right, if they
attorney's
haven't,
fees,
if they're
and
not bringing you
trying
to
to get
court to
out
sell it, I mean,
from anything.
then that's
But
it.
what they
There's
even
nothing done.
acknowledge here is, hey, in their own contract, they say, hey, there are certain types of claims and civil actions and enforcements, according to government agencies or courts, that you cannot get out of. And there are certain claims that cannot be waived by law. So even in their own contract, they tell on themselves. They really say, hey, there's certain things that can be claimed by law. And in fact, many of the things above, some of those can't entirely be disclaimed by a simple waiver, especially if the behavior was negligent or egregious. And in the case of VShojo, we may very well have negligent, egregious behavior. We've seen that with the leaks that are getting out there where,
I
hey,
mean,
it's
them
looking like
stealing
Gunrun knew.
stealing
They
money
knew.
from
The
their fucking
leadership knew.
talents, or
At
not
what
paying their
point does it become
talents,
grossly negligent, extremely negligent, and or even
or
willful,
maybe even
and just
leaking their
totally void this waiver,
information,
right?
right?
And that is a very good question. Next, they say, hey, you knowingly read this, you had your attorney look at it, right? You know what's going on here. That is something that is very, very important. You had an ability to consult an attorney, because otherwise it would be under duress, right? But in an even more important part here is non-disparagement. This is huge, and this is why a lot of the talents are probably wanting to stay silent, because they're looking at this covenant here, this promise, where the employee agrees that they will not at any time, there's no expiration date on this, forever and ever, make, publish, communicate to any person, entity, or any public forum. That will be Twitter, X, that will be YouTube, that will be Twitch, that will be any other platform, saying anything defamatory or even disparaging. So disparaging can be true. Comments, statements concerning the employer's business or any employees now or in the future. So, for example, if they were sexually harassed by an employee, they're expecting them to stay silent? No, you don't have to. And this
Correct.
non-disparagement clause is what I hope that all the talents are speaking to their attorneys about.
Yeah, and
because
something
what
as
is
being sexually,
non-disparagement is
that's
in the
like,
eyes of the
you know how
beholder. What
horrendous
Gunrun
of a
may
crime that
not
is.
want you to say,
Not
well,
good.
maybe you can say it because it was in fact illegal. Now, here's a big one, and this is a giant one, which may or may not also be in the talent contracts. Um,
People
Jurisdiction,
forget
venue, and
that,
governing law. They put
right,
it
when
under the
people
law of
sexually assault
Washington.
people, they
That's
don't
very
just stop
interesting, guys.
there.
Why would they put this under the
Might
law
even
of
take it to a
Washington
fucking new
when they
level, right?
are
They
a
might take it to
California
fucking
company?
murder or something.
Well,
Well,
there's
the
a
worst
reason for
case, they
that,
might
and
take it
that's
to
because
murder, right?
of choice of law. VShojo chose Washington over California because Washington has more favorable, less restrictive. California, all this wrangling and
Oh
gun
shit!
runs, little trick them.
Sorry,
And okay, region, our requirements are less. Laws and
don't
law.
fucking do.
Well, the uncountry run may not want you to say, well, maybe you can say it because it was in fact illegal. Now, here's a big one, and this is a giant one, which may or may not also be in the talent contracts. Jurisdiction, venue, and governing law. They put it under the law of Washington. That's very interesting, guys. Why would they put this under the law of Washington when they are a California company? Well, There's a reason for that, and that's because wash of choice of law. VShojo chose Washington over California because Washington has more favorable, less restrictive laws than California. The employment
But
requirements are less. The wage and hour requirements are less. The
that doesn't make
non-compete
sense though,
clauses.
because
Non-compete
that's not
clauses
where
are
they're
okay in Washington. They're
stationed.
not okay in California. California has a broad prohibition against them. And despite all this choice of law, despite all this wrangling and gun runs, little tricks that his team put together, you can't escape some mandatory California labor laws, even with this clause. But it indeed shows they were trying to be tricky with their choice of law. While they don't have any office there, their headquarters is in California, they decide to apply Washington law. Very interesting. Forum shopping, as we call it there.
Foolish.
Going on here, there's no
They're
admission of
trying to say,
liability, so
oh
nobody's saying
no,
they're
we
guilty.
can apply
And
this
this is very
laws to
interesting. We
California.
have
No,
their attorney
fuck
information,
off.
which is
No, you
Odin
cannot.
Law at 4600 Marriott Drive, Studio 520
Motherfucker,
in
you
Raleigh,
are
North
in
Carolina. So now we know
California.
their
You
attorney.
better be
A lot of
applying
people have said, hey, their
California laws
attorney
to
was
your
this,
shit.
disbarred attorney or whatever, an attorney without a
Sorry,
license.
bitch.
Well, no, they did have this drafted by these people. Now, the law firm, and I'm not disparaging them in any way, shape, or form. They look like a competent law firm. I've looked at their,
I mean,
their,
they're obvious,
their website.
right? They are a competent law firm. They're obviously trying to hide the fact that, right? They don't they obviously want to play within their own game.
They may have just gotten a template.
They don't want to play in California's game.
Maybe the case, right?
They'd get
that
fucked.
Oftentimes is the case. So that's their attorney. They've got an attorney, Odin Law. And here's a very interesting one. If the employee breaches this, to the extent authorized by Washington law, the employee will be held responsible for payment of all reasonable attorney's fees that the employer incurred enforcing the terms. So what this means is they are attempting to threaten them with lawyers' fees if they do something like, for example, talk on X. That's one reason why all the talents are being careful. And I guarantee you, this clause.
So that's
also
I've noticed that too. After what? Right after the initial, right, once the initial, right, information came out, all of them just everyone shut the fuck up. Right. At least it seems like most of them got an attorney, right, and probably is like staying true to their word. That's good. Right. Everyone should get, right. I hate right, all these people who are in this shit, they need to get an attorney, literally. Because you might be in a fucking legal fight of your life.
Trying to push in front
Literally.
of the VShojo talent, or they already have, right? That is one that is definitely going to be there. So you can't modify this by any other way.
Especially when this guy had so much information on you guys,
because
right?
what may happen
you probably want a
is
lawyer.
A lot of times you may say, well, Gun Run told me in a DM, or maybe somebody told me somewhere else that this was going to be this way, right? Because they were probably promised something by other people and it just didn't pan out that way, right? Because a lot of times
apparently,
in staff situations, you'll have
and apparently when they were doing like the VShojo like when they were trying to acquire more talents, they were like paying off talents that didn't make it either and shit. And they were like trying to keep talents in their back pocket and like trying to silence them at the same time. It was fucking, the whole thing was fucking weird.
Manager tell you something, but that manager's verbal promise or email isn't really binding. What's binding is in a contract. So regardless of what they told you or promised you, talent first, right, guys? Talent first.
Yeah, talent first, yeah.
That isn't
talent
necessarily
freedom.
how it will play out in the reality. And last but not least, we have the signature block. So you guys know this is legit. We have the signature block for VShojo and for the employer. So guys, this has a lot of potential value for the VShojo talent that may be trying to sign this, and also for employees in the past. What do you guys think about the contract? Do you think it's crazy? What do you think it is? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the next one.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously, at this point, I feel like VShojo already fucking broke their end of the bargain, especially with all the people who haven't been paid yet. I mean, they already broke their contract, right? Or they are right. In a sense, they broke their side of the contract already with these talents by not paying out these talents, right? So it's like, fuck them. But at the same time, these people still have to abide their time and play by the rules, right? Gotta play by the rules of the of the court game, of the lawfare. But yeah, there you have it. Legal mindset. If you wanna take a look at more of his content, right? Oh shit, I'm blocking him. There's his candle. Give him a like and subscribe. Yeah, much appreciated. And yeah, he does a lot of right law stuff. So if you want to take a look at that stuff, there you have it.